What's up, guys? Sam Adams here, and we are officially 2 days away from 2015. I think that is absolutely insane. But during this time, I want to take a look back at 2014, specifically the best games of 2014. And this is kind of an awards show where I'm going to go back through what I think were the best games of the year, and I actually have picked out 5 categories that we're going to touch on and assign games to these categories, sort of like awards. So first off, we've got the best graphics, the most original game, the best remastering or re-release, the best multiplayer, and finally, of course, Game of the Year, the most famous awards subcategory. So all of these games I would recommend buying, but before I get started, I do want to emphasize that these are all my opinions, of course, so don't massacre me in the comments and wish for my death just because of my opinions, but feel free to share your opinions of what games deserve all of these categories down below. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this last year of gaming. So first off, let's go ahead and get into the best looking graphics of 2014, and I'm going to have to give this one to Infamous Second Son on the PlayStation 4. When this game first came out, I wasn't exactly sure how it was going to turn out since this was Infamous's first run on a next-generation console. However, what it lacked in story, it made up for tenfold in the graphics and the looks of the game. The way that the environment was built was so beautifully detailed that I can almost not describe it. It's one of those games you really just have to experience. The way that the enemies spawn into the world, the way that you traverse the world through vents and then shoot up out of the tops of skyscrapers is all in all breathtaking, and I can't thank Sucker Punch enough for making such a respectable and reputable and lovable entry into the Infamous series, and that is why Infamous Second Son is getting my Best Graphics Award for 2014. Next up, we've got the most original game, and I'm going to have to go ahead and give this one to Sunset Overdrive, because no matter what console you play on, it's almost undeniable that playing as a janitor surviving in an apocalyptic world run or controlled by a Fizco monster-style company, I just wonder who was on so much acid to make a game like that. The game itself, I would probably recommend a rent for it just because I don't see much replay value in it other than the amazing challenges that it has to offer. But this game, even just the box art is crazy and out there, and it reminds me of if Green Day, the band, made a video game and combined it with Tony Hawk and just a whole bunch of classic titles like Ratchet and Clank, since it is made by Insomniac Games. But if you haven't seen anything about this game, I would highly recommend checking it out, just because of how weird the story is, how weird the characters are, how weird the customization is. All in all, it's just a weird game, and that's something that we need to appreciate, which is why Sunset Overdrive is getting my Most Original Game of 2014 award. Next up, we have the best remastering or best re-release of 2014, and this one's going to have to go to The Last of Us Remastered. If you don't know me personally, you should know before I begin that it's really hard to affect me emotionally. And for a game company to do that is almost unheard of, yet Naughty Dog somehow did it. I didn't play The Last of Us on the PlayStation 3, although I do know that on the PlayStation 3, it quickly became one of the most recognizable and one of the most respected titles on the last generation system, and whenever it came to PlayStation 4, I automatically had to pick that up, and I must say it didn't disappoint. The multiplayer is compelling and beautiful, and I like playing the multiplayer, but where this game really shines is the single-player campaign, where you follow Joel and Ellie trying to get Ellie, who is immune to this zombie apocalypse virus, to the Fireflies, who can actually make a vaccine and spread it around the world. There are a lot of choices that Joel has to make, and I won't get into this game any further, but like I said, it's really hard to get me affected emotionally, and this game actually had me. I actually did have a tear running down my face at the end, which is why The Last of Us Remastered automatically in my mind got the best remastering of 2014 award from yours truly. Next up, we've got the best multiplayer of 2014, and generally multiplayer is now connected to Call of Duty and Battlefield in a lot of gamers' minds. But I didn't want to just give it to Battlefield or Call of Duty, mainly because I don't think the Advanced Warfare multiplayer is that different than other Call of Duties, and there wasn't a Battlefield game that came out this year, so I'm going to have to give this one to Far Cry 4, and a lot of people are going to disagree with me on this, but if you have the game, hear me out. I have played it for probably about 5 hours. I just got the game a couple of days ago, but it already earned an award on this video. I normally play Outpost, and basically you play as Golden Path versus the Royal Army kind of thing, and the Golden Path are hunters who can go invisible. They have a connection to nature, and they normally hunt with bows and arrows, and that's how they attack the enemy. The Royal Army kind of are a stereotypical soldier where they have AK-47s and grenades, and together you're meshing together and fighting each other, trying to control an outpost or a radio tower. And although this does sound like a stereotypical capture the flag or King of the Hill kind of game mode, the way that Far Cry runs it with the wingsuits and the zip lines and just all of the elements that make a Far Cry game a Far Cry game make the multiplayer so compelling, and so it has such a high replay value that it just had to get my Best Multiplayer of 2014 award. So finally, let's deal with the Game of the Year, and I'm going to have to give this one to Destiny from Bungie on the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Xbox 360, and the PlayStation 3. So whenever this game was first announced, the hype for it was incredibly high, and that all built up to E3, where everyone's heads were basically exploding in anticipation for Destiny. In fact, the anticipation got so high that whenever the game originally came out, it was kind of considered a letdown within the first week. And I see this kind of like if an alien population was looking at humanity and they were expecting to see a whole bunch of Supermen, and instead found the World of Warcraft guy from South Park. Because this game had no way of living up to the amount of hype that the people had put on it, but it was great, and it is great for what it is. There's a virtue in gaming that we don't see a lot of on consoles, and that is actually the grinding side of gaming. And Destiny definitely has a lot of that, and if that's not your thing, you're not going to like Destiny, but for my personal gaming beliefs and uses, I really like the grinding method, and I think that it's something we should see more of on console. This, in addition to the light armor upgrade model for after you hit level 20, made it to where you had to play every side of the game. Every little nook and cranny of the game had to be explored, and that's something that most games today are lacking. You don't have to experience the full game if you don't want to, generally, and Destiny didn't really leave any room for that, and I think that's cool because Bungie put a lot of time into Destiny, and they expected players to appreciate every little aspect and detail that they put into it, and like I said, that's pretty dang cool. In addition to this, the daily strikes, the weekly strikes, and the raids provide days of replay value just because of how replayable the strikes and raids themselves actually are. And this combined with the player versus player side of Destiny, which I must admit is absolutely gorgeous and completely addictive, make Destiny even a better game and a Bungie a better developer for making the game. Speaking of Bungie, they are so involved in the community with Destiny, it is insane. Every time I check a social network, there's always an update from Bungie, and that's pretty cool to see a developer getting behind their game that didn't have as great of a launch as they anticipated, and they're making it a better game continuously by doing so. So there you guys have it. Those are the games that I think deserve special recognition that came out in 2014. And now that we're looking ahead to 2015, I can't wait for Dying Light, Uncharted 4, Halo 5, Guardians, Battlefield Hardline. There are so many games coming out in 2015 that I just can't even explain how excited I am. And I also want to mention that on Wednesday we'll be having the worst of 2014, the games that deserve a special recognition for being absolutely terrible. So if you enjoyed the best, maybe you'll like the worst, I don't know, come back to my channel and check it out, or instead just go ahead and subscribe, save yourself some trouble. But if you enjoyed this video, please drop me a like down below and comment what game you think should have won Game of the Year or any other category for that matter. Give me your thoughts on my choices down below, and also, like I said, if you get a moment or two, head over to my channel, check out some more of my other content. I work really hard to make quality videos that you guys enjoy watching, and like I said, I enjoy it when you guys check them out. So thank you all for watching the best of 2014, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace.